Hey everyone, Antoni here. After reviewing such an animated train wreck of a movie and a very harrowing biographical drama, I'll be reviewing the dark comedy Osage County, which was shown at the CineStar movie theaters at Potsdamer Platz. The film was directed by John Wells, who was very well known for directing ER and The West Wing, which were TV dramas. It was produced by George Clooney, Jean Dumanian, Grant Heslov, Steve Traxler, Bob and Harvey Weinstein. It was written by Tracy Letts, who was also the same person who penned the play of the same name. And it stars Meryl Streep, Julia Roberts, Juliette Lewis, Julianne Nicholson, Ewan McGregor, Chris Cooper, Abigail Breslin, Benedict Cumberbatch, Margot Martindale, Dermot Mulroney, Sam Shepard, and Misty Upham. Now, I've never really watched the play, nor have I even performed any scene of it before. But let me just tell you, just by simply watching the trailer of this film, I kind of knew on the top of my head, well, it's not really going to be anything special, but I know it's going to be good. I know that it's going to be something involving the family going through such a crisis and everything else in between. So it basically talks about a dysfunctional family. Sure, I've watched a lot of dysfunctional families in TV and in movies. Like the most popular examples would be The Simpsons and the Griffins from Family Guy. And I definitely have to say, this film definitely has a lot of strong points. And it was really quite fascinating to watch. Now, story wise, like I said, the whole plot of dysfunctional families isn't really anything new for me. I've seen The Simpsons, Family Guy, and many other TV shows and movies that stars a dysfunctional family. Some of them are quite comedic, some of them are very dramatic, others are black comedy. Now, this isn't really anything new, but it's absolutely quite compelling. I mean, the way it's able to shift from such a dark comedy in one scene and into such a harrowing drama in the next scene, sure, at times it can be such a whiplash to other people, but for me, I thought it kind of balanced everything because let's face it, who here hasn't really dealt with such a dysfunctional family? I mean, everybody has. Whether you like it or not, you'll probably realize that, yeah, nobody's family is going to be perfect. There's no such thing as the perfect family. And I felt that this film showed it with such vivid colors, and it holds no bars whatsoever. Sure, there are times that they can seem polite to others in public, but when it's just them and them alone, you could really see their anger, their bitterness, and how they get on each other and blame each other for what's happened. They kind of take the blame out of other people just so that they try to make themselves feel better or something else in between. But like I said, the story of this movie isn't really anything new when it comes to dysfunctional families. But that doesn't mean that it's not compelling. Like I said, it's very compelling, it's very character driven, and there is a huge gamut of characters, which I'll get to later, that basically touch me as a person because I know what it's like to have such a crazy family in my life. I mean, I'm no exception. I think we all have a lot of crazy family dramas going on and on and on in our lives, and sure, we can pretty much relate to all of them. So that just shows me that, yeah, it's basically character driven to perfection because it has a lot of heart. And like I said, I've never performed any scenes of the play while I was in my old film school in Cebu, but If ever I get the chance, well, I really hope that I could do it, if not better than them, but hopefully okay. But still, like I said, it's very engaging and very compelling, and it's so character driven. And the writing, okay, since this was based on an award winning play, it was very, very solid. It was very entertaining to listen to every piece of dialogue, whether it's comedic or dramatic. I think where it really shines is all of the black comedy. I mean, you have these scathing jokes about other people in the family that you kind of are not supposed to laugh, but you can't help it. It's just so hilarious in such a dark way that it's actually that full of taste. It has a lot of taste, and it's so tasteful. Excuse me. The right word I would definitely use for the type of humor in this movie is tasteful. It has such class and such taste, and the sarcasm doesn't feel too bitchy, but it's actually quite, well, fun to listen to these characters rant on and on and on of just how this person sucks with their life or this person's a fail, and use it in such a scathing manner that it just comes off as very compelling and very entertaining, yet also very real because we know that we have these situations happen within our family. We have these fights, we have these arguments happening, whether it's in the close family or even our extended family. Heck, when I made some new friends at the cinema, two older women by the names of Rosalind and Sheila. Sheila basically told me that the way she sees the Westons in this movie, she kind of feels that they kind of feel similar to those of her family because she stated that she basically grew up in the similar area that they were based on. So, yeah, with the writing, it really shows that there are a lot of relatable characters because who hasn't been in any of those arguments with their family? It's very typical, and I definitely feel that this film holds no bars whatsoever. Sure, ordinary people have done it, but I definitely feel that with this film, it's able to balance the dark comedy and the drama into one package that is entirely memorable. And I could really see why it was nominated for Oscars, even though it didn't really win. But at least it was nominated, and at least it did have some awards in other award ceremonies. But still, both story and writing very solid, and the cinematography, like I said, I hate being a broken record, but it was all well shot all over the place. Whether it's the locations, the character reactions, they were all crisp and clean and very well shot. I found no flaws whatsoever. There were no shots where I was scratching my head and said, is this necessary? I absolutely felt that they were all well shot and just perfectly crisp and clean. Now, the characters are what really made this movie for me because this movie has a huge, colorful, and very interesting cast of characters, mostly from the family, and especially the Native American helper herself, Jonna. But going into the matriarch, Violet, okay, sure, we're not supposed to like her at times because there are times that she does act like a witch. I mean, she drinks, she smokes when she's not supposed to because, well, she has oral cancer. And with that type of condition, you know for a fact that you're not supposed to smoke, drink, or do anything stupid with yourself. But she does them anyway. But what kind of makes her very fascinating is her directness and her very sharp tongue, because she does know what's going on in the family. And it's very interesting to know that, yeah, sure, she may be a drug addict, but that doesn't stop her from having such an eagle's eye as in to what really goes on in the family. And I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but let's just say that, yeah, what happens to her in the end is really quite tragic. And she does have some weaknesses. Like I said, she is a recovering addict and she's been taking a lot of alcohol and drugs. She's been hurting herself so horribly. Hence the slurred speech and the constant mood swings that she has. But they're pretty much there for a purpose because, sure, we're not supposed to sympathize with her at first, but later on in the movie, sure, she may be still strong and tough as a woman, but she has her vulnerable sides. And it's quite harrowing at times seeing those states that she's in because, sure, she does try to keep everyone together, but in the end, things just don't go well for her, and she feels like her life is crumbling apart. Now, Barbara is another fascinating character. She tries her hardest to be the only sane woman in this family because, yes, her extended family is almost in shambles. Her mother is on the verge of depression, alcoholism, addiction, everything else that affects her emotionally. And she tries her hardest to stay strong. And she is trying her hardest to be the best mother that she can be. But when all things said and done, it's almost beyond her control, and I definitely pitied for her. Sure, there are times that when she yelled at her own daughter just because she made a big deal over her father's funeral or father's passing, I, at first I thought to myself, just wow, can't she just let her daughter be? But later on, I kind of realized that, yeah, it's quite tragic seeing someone who's trying to be as sane as possible just, well, realize that she can't always fix everything. And it's just quite sad sometimes. So, yeah, Barbara, as the oldest, she definitely does try to do her role the best that she can, but ultimately, it just kind of goes to shit once in a while. Her two sisters, Ivy and Karen, are also very fascinating. And both of them have such stifled dreams, dreams they can't even reach for, and they kind of feel rather um, caged in this madhouse. Well, Karen at first seems like a bimbo, a very shallow person, and quite stupid. I mean, it's no almost no wonder why Violet screams at Karen because I think it's pretty obvious by just by initially looking at her, you think she's a shallow little moron. She can't do shit for brains. She's, well, unbelievably stupid, but she's actually just hurt. And she tries to prove herself to be a better person. Ivy at times is almost no better. Because, well, she may be direct, but she does make bad decisions as well. And Jean, well, there are times that I almost don't really care for her because she's such a rebellious teenage girl, but it's pretty common because I was kind of like that, but I didn't smoke pot when I was a teen. No, no. I didn't even smoke when I was 14. I basically wanted to be a goth when I was 14, but that dream never occurred. But it's safe to say that a part of me kind of relates to Jean because, sure, she may seem like a brat, she may seem like a punk, she may seem that bratty sometimes and quite horrible, but she just doesn't understand what is with this drama in the family. It's almost driving her insane to the point where she almost doesn't even feel like a teen anymore. And she can be direct, and she's quite smart. But I think the most common factor or the most dominant factor in Jean is that she just can't stand it. She just can't stand this crazy family drama as young as she is because she knows for a fact that, yeah, her parents have split. She can't deal with it. That's why she takes pot. And in the climax of the movie, that's why she takes pot with Karen's boyfriend, which is quite shocking because she's only 14. You'd never really expect your 14-year-old to do that, but still, she's quite a fascinating character herself, even though she doesn't really have that much to do. Now, little Charlie, yeah, at times he may seem annoying, like he's this wimp of a character, he's this wimp of a man, but once you get to the later parts, you could see that he's actually an accomplished composer, but his mother just belittles him, which is quite sad. And his mother, Maddie Faye, sure, she starts off as bubbly and, well, giddy, but that's just her mask because, well, basically she uses her bubbly and giddy side as a mask to her true self, which is depressed and just someone who can't deal with this crap that she's going through anymore. And even though Beverly, well, Violet's husband, didn't really have that much to do, he's quite a firm and stern person, even though he ended up dead during the course of the film. So, yeah, every character in this movie was all just fantastic, especially, well, Violet, because I definitely felt that she was quite, well, fantastic. Jonna, of course, people say that, oh, she's just a Native American, but she really does get herself involved. I mean, she's especially concerned for someone as young as Jean, because someone as young as Jean shouldn't dare smoke pot at such a very young age. She does share her concerns with what's going on in the family. And the boyfriend of Karen, hang on, let me find the name. Ah, Steve. Yeah, Steve. Yeah, he does seem quite likable, but during the climax of the movie where he is, well, smoking pot with Jean, he kind of ends up being a douche. And poor Karen isn't really that aware. But it's safe to say that this movie definitely offers a huge cast of very colorful characters. And the acting is very stellar. I mean, Meryl Streep is Meryl Streep. You can't doubt that. She's been in a lot of great films, and many people have admired her acting abilities. In fact, my most memorable roles from her were Miranda from Devil Wears Prada, and she was in um, that Virginia Woolf movie. I almost forgot the name of that, but it also stars Julianne Moore. But she's been in a lot of fantastic movies. And what can I say? Meryl Streep is Meryl Streep. Oh, yeah, and she was also in The Iron Lady. So, yeah, she does a very stellar performance in this film. And she still has those acting chops. I mean, my new friends, Sheila, said that she kind of overacted a bit. Sure, I do feel that at times, especially in those drug hallucinated scenes, but overall, she still does a stellar job in portraying such a crumbled character, though stern and tough as she is, she's quite crumbled. And she definitely portrays the crumbled side of Violet pretty well, though at times quite overacted. But still, it was a very great portrayal from such a great actress. Julia Roberts was definitely great as Barbara. Sure, there are times that Sheila did comment that Julia Roberts overacted a bit. Sure, there were times I felt that too. But still, she does a pretty good job. Juliette Lewis as Karen was quite stellar as well. She was able to play Karen's ditzy nature, but also the type of um, type of dark nature that Karen has, that she's a lot more than just this ditz. And I definitely love the scene where Julia Roberts, Julianne Nicholson, and Juliette Lewis were all together. There was a lot of fantastic chemistry with these three fantastic ladies. That scene with the sisters Barbara, Karen, and Ivy, I definitely felt that was just one of the best scenes I have seen in the movie. And there was a lot of great dynamics between Roberts, Nicholson, and Lewis. And speaking of Nicholson, I definitely felt that she played Ivy's at times naive nature pretty well, and she was good for the most part. But with such great acting, there are times I do realize that with Ewan McGregor and Benedict Cumberbatch, I definitely felt that they were kind of iffy on their roles. Don't get me wrong, I feel that both of them are very, very fantastic actors. Cumberbatch has appeared on Sherlock and has gained a lot of fame in that TV show. And Ewan McGregor has appeared in a lot of films. So both of these actors are fantastic. However, there is one noticeable flaw that I noticed when they were speaking. Their natural British accents were slowly slipping in. Yeah, and I know that at times it can be quite hard for any British actor to try their very best to make a very believable American accent. And I do see that they're trying, but my goodness, there are moments where I notice with my own two ears that the accent that they naturally have comes slipping back in for just 1 second. I honestly felt that they could have casted Christian Bale to be one of the characters, especially the father. I definitely felt that Christian Bale could have been casted as the father, but, well, Christian Bale is a very busy, busy man, so he's pretty much out of the question. But going into Ewan McGregor's performance as Bill, I definitely liked his performance as this father who tries his hardest to make his daughter have a happy life, even though he himself isn't really the best role model. I mean, he's quite relatable to other downbeat dads, and sure, he may not seem too downbeat, but he's actually pretty great in this character. He's quite sympathetic as well, too. And in the scene where he tells Julia Roberts' character that he's not going to stay with her anymore, I kind of felt, well, sad. And Benedict Cumberbatch as little Charles, sure, at times he may act quite annoying, but still, he does a pretty good job. Abigail Breslin as Jean. Now, this was an actress, a very young actress, or excuse me, most proper term would be a teen actress who has a lot of potential. And I could honestly see a brighter future for her. Sure, she has been in films like Signs when she was a very young age, and she has been in Little Miss Sunshine. I think it's really great that she's making a name for herself, aside from just being called Spencer Breslin's little sister. I think she's making a great name for herself, and even though she's currently 17 and she'll be 18 this year, I honestly hope to see her in a lot more films, and I really hope that she'll go in a better direction because I know from the bottom of my heart that she's got a lot of potential and a lot to give, especially to a lot of young girls everywhere who aspire to be an actress. I definitely feel that she has a lot of potential, and with her portrayal as Jean, I felt that she was able to portray that rebellious nature without being too rebellious or punkish or without being too bratty. She was able to give such a natural performance. Dermot Mulroney did a pretty good job as Steve, playing the likable side of Steve and playing the messed up side of Steve. So there was a lot of great acting all around, especially to Misty. What's her name? Yeah, Misty Upham. Misty Upham as Jonna. I could really see a fantastic future for her as well. I definitely felt that she was able to play Jonna's concern and care for each of the family members very well. And even though she had such a minute role in a lot of scenes, she was still believable. Sam Shepard as Beverly was very fantastic. He had this type of presence in the film that even though he's old, he still has this dramatic type of presence without being too overly dramatic. But it's quite riveting. So yeah, the acting in this movie, very solid all around, and the music was absolutely great. I especially loved the ending credits song. It was just so powerful, so moving, and just so tear-jerking that I almost cried before I left the theater. In fact, in the ending, which I won't spoil, there were times that I was almost about to cry because it was just so depressing. After witnessing a lot of black comedy moments, I mean, yeah, it's quite depressing. And sure, the music does make a lot of use of piano pieces, and at times it can make great use of country music. But as it is, the music is very stellar, and I could really recommend that you could either buy the official soundtrack or you could just listen to it online. But definitely the music was just fantastic. So overall, this film was stellar. Stellar acting, stellar writing, stellar dark comedy, stellar drama, stellar everything. Sure, the premise isn't really anything new because we've dealt with a lot of dysfunctional family stories. And sure, the British accents of Ewan McGregor and Benedict Cumberbatch do come off as slightly noticeable, but other than that, this is, like I said, stellar. I rate this film a 4 out of 5. There are a couple of flaws that kind of made me not have it a perfect score. Like, one, that it's not really anything new for me, and two, The accents keep slipping back in, most notably from Cumberbatch and McGregor. But other than that, it was stellar all around. Everybody gave such memorable performances, and I could see a brighter future for Miss Breslin because she was very stellar in that role. She didn't really have a lot to do, but I could really see a more fantastic future for her, and I definitely hope that she'll be in a lot more films. And I'm sure that she's got, like I said, a brighter future ahead of her, and I know that she will never disappoint. And like I said, stellar. This film is stellar. Sure, it may have received some mixed reviews, but it doesn't matter. This was great. This was great all around. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in to my next review, which is going to be on Thursday. I'll be reviewing this concert at the Konzerthaus am Gendarmenmarkt with Laura Aiken, who is going to be singing a few German and French songs, most notably from Ravel, and that's at least one of the composers that I know. Until then, this is Antoni signing off and wishing you all a good night.